All right. So, our first review of the day is going to be for the film Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2 is the sequel to the first Inside Out movie, which came out in 2015. So, that was 9 years ago, almost 10 years since the first Inside Out movie came out. And I was a big fan of that movie. I really liked the first Inside Out movie. You rewatched it recently in anticipation for this movie. I haven't really seen it since it came out. What were your thoughts on having seen it recently, the first Inside Out movie?
Well, having seen it recently, it was actually my first time seeing it.
Oh, okay.
So, having seen it, I heard a lot of good press about it. People really enjoyed it. I thought it was a strong movie. I think it's probably maybe not Pixar's best movie. It's a bit simplistic in some of its tones towards emotions, but I think that it was a well done theme and it had a lot of good like just good smaller jokes here and there, but I thought the theme of joy and sadness and all these other emotions kind of at least helping out as people kind of live their day-to-day lives and what is the core of somebody and the emotions that run it, and it felt very Pixar-esque without really going too far over what made it work. And I thought the emotional moments worked. Was it Pixar's best work? I don't think so. I think some of their better works worked better putting it all together, but I still enjoyed Inside Out. I thought it was a very strong movie.
Mm, yeah, I did as well. Like I said, I thought it was very strong. I think it's one of Pixar's better movies there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they're back again. They are back with a sequel here. So what's going on here? In this Inside Out 2? Well, Riley, she's turning 13. She's now officially a teenager now.
Mhm.
Entering that new stage of her life, and with new stage of her life comes with a new set of problems, a new set of emotions there. And we get the new set of emotions. We got anxiety in this. A lot of people can relate to that. You have that, who's voiced by Maya Hawke in this. You also have Envy, who's voiced by Iowa Debris.
Mhm.
Embarrassment, and then also the other one, I don't know, Ennui.
Yeah,
I guess it's
Inouye.
Ennui.
Ennui, yeah.
Which emotion I guess is supposed to be what, apathy or
So Inouye basically just means it's emotion, it's just uninterest. It's basically apathy, uninterest in
okay.
anything.
Yeah, so you got a new set of emotions there, for, it that's inside Riley's head that's going crazy, and new set of challenges there in her life as you see. So, and this one, like I said, start a new phase of her life, new different challenges, the new emotions, becoming a teenager. Also, you have the fact that, she's trying to, be on this hockey team, trying to, go into high school, trying to make high school friends and think the access to making high school friends is being a part of this team here. You know what I mean? Being part of this hockey team, the Firebirds, I think they were called,
Yeah.
and trying
The
to fit in
Firehawks, yeah.
Firehawks, trying to be part of the cool kids, trying to fit in, that challenges that you have all in kind of your adolescent stage of life. So yeah, that's kind of the setup you have here for this sequel. Uh, and I will say, watching it, I think I liked it just as much as I remember liking the first one. I think the new emotions coming in here, Maya Hawke, Iowa Debris, especially who get most of the shine as the newer emotions, do very good. I think they do a very good job in a lot of their kind of comedic bits and kind of working in with already the established emotions that we have here. And then some of the established emotions got kind of replaced. I think some of them are not the same voice actors that were in the first
Yeah,
one.
the 2 big ones are, Disgust, who is now voiced by Lisa Lapira. She was originally voiced by, Mindy Kaling,
Yep.
and the big one that really hurt was, Fear, who was replaced with Tony Hale. Originally was Billy Hader.
Yeah.
Bill Hader was really good as Fear. I really enjoyed it. Seeing it back to back actually hurt a little bit more for me because just the way he played Fear in that first one was really strong. There's just something. Bill Hader is a really just talented actor overall, so it's really hard to put someone else. I think Tony Hale does a fine enough job though. He's a strong actor overall, very comedian. But I
Yeah.
thought that was the bigger loss of the two. But yeah, those two didn't come back for
Yeah.
some reason. I don't know why.
So I like the kind of the different kind of mix there that you have of this, and much
Mhm,
like with the first one, you have it. There's the initial kind of drawback there of the emotion of like these new emotions kind of coming in and the purpose of these emotions because you still do have Amy Poehler who has returned as Joy, who is kind of the leader of the emotions. She's kind of the
mhm,
main leader there, the main person who's kind of in charge, taking control of things, wants to always experience the joy in life. You know what I mean? Hence her name. You know what I mean? Of really
mhm.
looking out for Riley, taking care of Riley. There. But I'm gonna pass it to you, Dusk. What were your thoughts on Inside Out 2?
I think, like the first Inside Out 2 is a fairly simple story. It doesn't get this the story overall is fairly simple, it's just in the way that it's executed later on and how they use the emotions, these new emotions that come in, and how that impacts Riley and her new life and her expectations of things. As we said, in the original one, she was 11 years old, and in this one, jumped 2 years, so she's 13. And with that comes now new expectations. She's just starting into puberty, and this causes, of course, chaos and problems. But along that, it's also the desire to fit in, especially in this now should be joining into the junior high, the high school system,
Yeah.
and that will have even different, more expectations. One of the big themes of this movie is the nature of what makes up an individual, which wasn't quite the theme in the first one, but this one does tackle that more. And what are beliefs? Beliefs are formed over time, and memories and these events kind of form a person. And where do the emotions fit in that belief system? Do they dictate too much over Riley herself? Are they in control, or is Riley developing her own sense of self, and they're just supposed to kind of almost be like little guardians that kind of help tailor those moments back and forth? And I think that's really the theme on it here is and adjusting with these new emotions who are a little more volatile, a little bit more aggressive than the other core emotions. And I don't know if you noticed this, but the designs for the newer emotions are actually more abstract and less human looking than the other core emotions, aside from maybe fear.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, because you do have Embarrassment, who's like, Andre the Giant kinda looking kinda
Hmm.
creature there. Let me see if I can pull 'em I'll show a photo of the newer emotions that you have here. I did like Envy's. Envy was pretty cute. I did like Envy.
Hmm.
Envy was really adorable there. There's kinda one of the newer emotions there. So here you kinda see some of the you have anxiety right there, you got ennui who's right here, you got envy who's right here, and then you have embarrassment who's also, yeah,
Yeah.
right there. Like you said, still kind of keeping the same kind of story here that you had from the first one. I mean, her dealing with a phase of her life. We're seeing it. We're taking a glimpse of it. How do all these emotions, how they are going to fit together, work together. A lot of the if I remember correctly, with the first one,
Hmm.
was that sadness was introduced. And then sadness, and then how is sadness gonna work with joy, them being such opposites
Hmm.
with each other. And then at the end, it was like, well, sadness kind of does have a purpose at times.
Yeah.
It does have a purpose. All emotions have a purpose and a function
Yeah,
there.
that was the big theme of joy was the very first emotion that existed, and then sadness came next.
Okay.
And because sadness is the polar opposite, joy doesn't really know what to do with sadness most of the time. Anger came third, then fear, and as it, like they all the other three came like relatively close to each other. Fear, disgust, and anger came relatively close to each other. So it was
Yeah.
every other emotion had a purpose. Fear kept keep her safe. Disgust made her aware of her surroundings, made sure that she kind of kept her own personality, kept herself okay, and not did anything that would kind of cause harm to her in a social sense, and also just not eat anything that would poison her. And anger, well, that's important too for trying to get your way. It's a spark of emotion, and that has its own purpose as well. But with sadness, it's the big thing. One for joy was, well, why would you ever want to be sad?
Yeah.
What good is that? And that's the big thing, especially when you have a big moment, was joy kind of learning the value of sadness as the emotion, and sadness also finding her place among the emotions, which she's never quite really had among them.
Mm, yeah. Who sadness is voiced by the woman from the Office, Phyllis Smith.
Phyllis Smith, she does a great job here too, as well.
Yeah. And Louis Black, who is also the voice of Anger, also
Yes,
returns
he was.
again, as the voice there. And then, yeah, like you see with these kind of new emotions, the purpose for you have for them, of course, like embarrassment is kind of like shame. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? We should kind of bring more shame back. Some
we
people
really
kind of
should.
some people, don't really feel that as much nowadays, but yeah, you kinda got that. And then even with something like, envy, it's like, okay, there's certain purpose for all these emotions. The main one is kind of main one you see kind of in conflict with the kind of the other emotions is anxiety, who's, like I said, is voiced by Maya Hawke. You see her going like, it's kinda like in a way like fear. It's another extension of fear where it's supposed to warn you of the future.
Yeah,
Anxiety is more like I kind of, there's the threats now that fear handles, but then what about 5 years from now? What about
yeah.
10 years from now? And then she's very worried about Riley's future. It's like if we don't fit in with this clique, then that
Mhm.
determine our whole life in high school and then what we're going to be like. And we're going to be alone if we don't make friends with this girl who, I forgot the main girl's name that,
Riley.
no, I'm,
Oh, the other girl, Ortiz.
Ortiz, who's the captain of the fire, she's the cool girl that she looks up to. Then that's gonna, throw us off our whole track, and we're gonna be sad and lonely and everything like that. So,
Yeah, Val Ortiz is the big high school varsity hockey player.
yeah. So you kind of have that kind of going on. So that kind of runs into conflict with a lot of that. With the kind of the other emotions, and you kind of will see that throughout the movie. The humor I thought was good. I thought that was really handled very well. I mean, I saw it in a pretty sizable theater. A lot of people showed up there. Was your theater pretty packed?
It was actually, yeah, fairly packed, all things considered.
Yeah, and this movie's doing pretty well in the box office. I think this
Yeah.
movie,
Hey,
yeah.
man, the thing about this movie that's been different from a lot of Pixar movies lately coming out, and actually a lot of Disney movies to begin with, is I'll say this one thing before we move forward. It's a fairly simple story. It doesn't have a lot of BS in it. It just tells a genuine story about emotions and how they deal with, and it has its own plot, its characters, and they have conflicts. They eventually try to resolve it, and then it has a solid, pretty good theme at the end.
Mm,
And when you actually give that to your audience, they'll actually show up.
yeah. And this is already coming close to 500 million
Yeah,
inside out too. So it's doing really well in the box office. So yeah, the crowd really was into it, really liked it. The humor I thought worked really well. I thought there was a lot of good bits there. The voice performances are really well done, even if
yeah,
you
they're
do
still
have
strong.
still strong, even if you have the replacements there of like Mindy Kaling and then of Bill Hader. I still think they come in, they step in and do a really good job there. I didn't
Yeah, as
notice
best
much.
they can.
Yeah, I didn't really even notice super much of a drop off there, from kind of the voices. Animation still looks really good. I think still kind of really solid
I
there.
think what's interesting I noticed about the animation in this one is the animation with the emotions felt, oh, like we're back in 2015. And what aside from more glowing effects, a bit more fidelity and some texture improvements, it's like, oh, okay, the animation's still pretty really good, still strong. I really started to notice the change of difference when it went to the real world.
Mm,
That's where I noticed oh yeah, we've almost 9 years has been passed. Yeah, you can definitely see the difference. You can see they have a lot better
like
light maps, better textures, better just hair
mm,
texture. There's small details, but back to back, you can tell even between that 9-year gap, the real world had a definitely they were able to do a little bit more. Not that this one, like if you notice in Envy's hair, it glows a bit more than it did in the other one. There's a bit more focus on the fuzz than there was in the previous one, even though that was there as well, and the emotions. Just small little things here and there.
mm. Okay. Yeah, I do see it kind of more of an upgrade. Yeah, in kind of the real world there. And then especially some scenes, like you have some scenes where she's playing hockey, the sweat, and then some scenes where she'll get like embarrassed, and then you'll see like the red on her cheeks and everything like that. So a little bit more defined. Now I'm kind of looking at it, it's like, doesn't Riley kind of look like the babysitter from The Incredibles a little bit?
A little bit, yeah, but they also kind of share. I mean, that's kind of the Pixar style. They're going to
Mm,
share some of their style between their movies.
yeah.
A few
Uh,
of them though do have their own more unique style, but like kind of like Luca or a few others that try to do something very their own way, but for the most part they kind of in-house have a little unique style.
mm, yeah. So I really like this. I think, this might be on my list of favorite movies of the year,
Mm,
at the end of the year. I liked it that much, and enjoyed it and enjoyed a lot of what it did. And enjoyed I mean, yes, it does have similar themes as the first one does. Yes, it does have a lot of the traditional animated movie
yeah,
plot of, the animated movie plot is characters get lost and they gotta find their way back. That's always like
right.
Toy Story follows that same plot.
Yeah.
A lot of movies do that, like, characters get lost, and they gotta find their way back
Finally
to
arrived to situation, problems comes, they have to get back to problem fast. Well,
Yeah,
good thing they have a solution to get them there back fast that
y
was shorter than it took them to get there.
yeah, pretty much. You do have that traditional animated stuff there, which I guess is some of my faults about the movie there, but I think even those kinda little faults, in it, I still think it's a good product. I still think it's good at kind of
Mhm,
what it's doing, the execution of it, and then with these new emotions coming in, I think do a good job there of what they do with them. So, for me, I would give it a strong, tune in, bordering on kind of a little peak, lowish peak.
mhm.
What about you?
I think this is one of the best animated movies they've done in a while. Animated projects. I think it's next to Luca. I enjoyed Luca. Luca has his problems, but I still enjoyed it. I think this is stronger than Luca in the aspect that it has a more visual variety focus, and watching it back to back from Inside Out, it unlike a lot of sequels, it felt like a natural. Oh, okay, yeah, this feels like you just stepped right out of the first one and into the second one, and that's really hard to do. And looking into the movie more, I noticed they actually went through it. I actually had trouble trying to figure out what the sequel idea would be and what the next set of emotions were. Originally, they were going to do far more complex emotions for the next ones. Like for example, the four emotions they were going to bring in one was going to be colored magenta for love, one was going to be
Mm,
black for strength, like strength, bravery, that aspect, and like I forget to get two others, but those felt more. I think the reason they didn't go with that was because those felt more like adult emotions, like a
mm,
lot more, "Oh, these are like when you've really encompasses more," but the emotions I thought that they chose was actually fairly good. They feel like, well, newer emotions, more complex emotions, but a little bit more volatile emotions, less core, but needing in their own way. But I think overall, the movie visually is strong. I thought, while it still has the simplistic themes of Inside Out, it still does its job. It does its job well. And for a Disney Pixar movie, I really enjoyed it. The jokes nailed it most of the time. The voice actors were good. The visual style was good. I can't not give it anything but a strong tune in. This is
mm,
kind of what you go in for family entertainment. It's like, well, I enjoyed this more than If, but If was kind of a similar vibe to me, whereas it's not as good as it, but If was like a low tune in, but still a solid tune in. Like, hey, this is what family entertainment should be. It's good, it's wholesome, and it's entertaining. But this is maybe not be as strong as some of the Pixar movies, but this is still a strong to high tune in, where this is kind of what you look for animation. This is what you look for when you make an animated movie.
mm. Yeah, I agree. Can't think of too many animated movies that came out this year so far.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you think of another one? I know there's some that did come out. I just can't think of them right now.
They came out and then died a
Oh,
horrible.
Garfield.
Garfield came out and died a horrible death.
Garfield.
Well,
I
no,
didn't see
well, actually,
Garfield.
it did surprisingly well on Garfield's name alone, but the quality of product is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick talked about it while I talked about If. If
Yeah.
is half animated, half live action, and I think that is a far superior movie.
Yeah. I haven't seen it still.
That's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy this. I can definitely see this being on my list. Oh, yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4 was also another one.
King of Panda 2, that was okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
they came out early, very early in the year.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I really loved it. Just really enjoyed Inside Out 2 as well. Two strong tune-ins for Inside Out 2.
Mhm.
What will be the next set of emotions for Inside Out 3? You think done with emotions? Or you think that, bring in some more?
No. I honestly, it's from the vibe of it, you're gonna get more complex emotions. They honestly, they probably the next step for probably Riley would be when she's they'll skip ahead till she's like 15, 16,
Uh-huh.
and when she's like in high school proper, and
Mm.
it'll probably be when magenta, like love and strength, and like those more advanced emotions come in. Where if anxiety is anxiety, these core original emotions are strong one note emotions that are really strong. Anxiety, envy, embarrassment, ennui. They're like fairly two noted. They're strong two notes, but they're complex in the way you can use them and how they work with other emotions. Uh, there's no doubt in my mind if they did a third one, it would probably be more complicated. Like love. Love is a very complicated emotion,
Yeah.
and figuring out how does that gel, especially with characters with joy, was like, oh, you're happy, and it's like, yeah, kind of. It's a different kind of happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you see on these movies, Joy has had rivals. Maybe it's time she had someone that was kind of a little bit more of an extension of her, you know what I mean, come in,
Right.
you
But
know?
and the jealousy and that love is also, you can be sad and still be in love. You
Yeah.
can, like, love is works with many tandems of emotions, just like strength can work tandem with anger and sadness, and like that becomes, it becomes bitter then. Like
Mm.
you can go really off, like really complex, because they showed in the end, at the end of the first movie, and they continued it into the sequel, which I liked. Uh, that memories become twinged with multiple emotions.
Yeah.
Like you see twinged in different colors, and they're not just one solid color anymore. And I'm sure that will continue if they do a third one. Should they do a third one is a completely different matter, but hey, this does well. I have no doubt
I
they'll want
mean,
to get to that drain
yeah.
again.
Yeah, what was the budget on
The
this?
budget was like less than 200 million. I think
Mm.
100 million actually.
Yeah, it says, Inside Out gross, yeah, so on a budget of 200,000,000.
200 million.
Yeah, so
And
I don't
it's
know.
already making like 500
Yep.
million. So, and honestly, with next weekend coming up, I can see that. And once it gets more, I can see that going to word of mouth to being about probably six, 700 maybe.
The thing is can beat Dune 2. Dune 2 right now is still the highest grossing movie of the year.
I don't think it'll beat Dune 2, but I do think it'll get to a strong six to 700 probably by its end.
Yeah, well, Dune 2, yeah, that's tough because Dune 2 is 711,000,000 it had.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So that's gonna be a tough fight.
How much
And
did the first Inside Out make?
I think it was I think that one was like six, 700 maybe.
858.8,000,000.
Yeah. Quite a lot. It was very popular.
Yeah, so very, very popular there. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was, yeah, good old Inside Out 2. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do make an Inside Out 3, and
I'm
then you
not.
also have, Moana, especially the animated movie. Moana 2 is
Yeah.
coming out.
Which was originally going to be a TV series that they then decided to combine to make a one full-fledged animated movie.
Yeah,
Slash kind of redo a lot of the concept for it and some of the things they'd done for it and give it a bigger budget and retool it to make it a movie,
yeah.
which is
Well,
probably
hey
for the best, honestly.
hey, man, direct to DVD movies, they're
Hey,
making a
man, they're
comeback.
coming back. They are. They're making a comeback straight to streaming.
Straight to streaming this time, yeah.
Don't waste
Now
the
it's
plastic. Don't waste
now
the DVD.
yeah, now it's just they're putting it in theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it's
Um,
interesting because that sequel won't have any music in it. Won't have any musical
really?
elements in it. Yeah,
Oh,
no. That's what a lot of people were upset about, is they did not bring back the people who made the musical part for Moana.
oh, well,
They're
okay.
not. There's not going to have, like, it'll have like music in it, but it won't be a musical the way that Moana was.
Well, I don't think it's gonna do as well then.
No.